Now we're moving on, and we are going to talk to Uno Ishigami, who is here. She's a radical feminist from Japan, the country we've been mentioning several times today because they are hosts of the Olympic Games. Please, can you give us any overview on of the situation in Japan in general about gender identity?
Yes. Hello, my name is Uno Ishigami. This is my suit name, and I'm wearing a mask and glasses today because if my real name, face, and workplace are revealed, there is a fear that extremists may spread my personal information, and I will not be able to live peacefully. I'm an ordinary citizen working for a nonprofit organization. It was only last year that I started to speak out about women's rights. I decided to do so because I was terrified by the rapid spread of transgenderism in Japan and the fact that most famous feminists support it. In Japan, ordinary anonymous women like myself are active mainly on Twitter to cope with transgenderism. Some of us have been doing this for as long as 3 years. We are spreading what is happening in countries where gender identity laws and systems have already been introduced. We are protesting against attempts to make a kind of LGBT equality laws in Japan, as it will surely diminish the rights of women. We are thinking, communicating, and sharing information about how transgenderism is a problematic ideology. From my point of view, the promotion of transgenderism is led by gender academics in Japan. The quick spread of the belief in transgenderism has made us women realize how superficial and concept-centered the current Japanese feminism is. It ignores the biological reality of women. It is easily influenced by media and commercialism. For these academics, radical feminism and Marxist feminism are only object of study, not a guide for their own lives. Trans rights activists have been around for about 15 years and have strong ties to political parties and worlds of academia, publishing, education, and speech. So our side have been lagging behind. For the past 3 years, it has been difficult for us to get people to believe us when we say that women's rights are in danger.
Is there much awareness of the problem amongst the Japanese general public? If there is, what has made them aware and how they are responding?
Before I discuss the issue of trans women athletes participating in women's sports, let me tell you how this Olympics is considered in Japan. Several polls show that there are far more people who oppose or want to postpone the Olympics than those who want to hold them this year. The spread of the new coronavirus has not been controlled and vaccinations are not yet fully available. Okay. Above all, the healthcare workers are so exhausted that they will be crushed under the burden of working for Olympic and the spread of the disease if the Olympics are held. Therefore, many Japanese people have negative feelings about the Tokyo Olympics. The New Zealand weightlifter, Roller Hubbard, here, was reported on TV news shows as well as on the web media like this. Many people in Japan had seen them. Although the TV program took the stance of introducing the pros and cons of trans women's participation in women's sports, the general public who saw the news overwhelmingly said in the comment section of the web news and on social media that sports should be played according to one's sex, not gender. These voices are so overwhelmingly huge that it doesn't even spark any controversy. So one-sided. In Japan, it is the ruling party that wants to hold the Olympic and opposition party against it. And the people on the opposition side are the ones promoting transgenderism. So where there have been some articles that defend Royal Hubbard and other trans women athletes, they have not led to a huge support for Hubbard and others. Trans rights activists have also been reluctant. Japanese media tend to focus only on Japanese athletes. Hubbard, who competes in a weight class that does not compete with Japanese strong athletes, so it is still seen as other countries' problem or the world's problem that is going crazy. Not many people have realized that not only the Olympics, but also women's sports are in danger in all over the world, including Japan. Also, Japan is the host country of the Olympics, so we are in a position to treat all the people who have been sent to Japan in the same way. International goodwill must be based on respect for others. In other words, respect for all athletes and the countries that send them. This is the reason why we cannot actively oppose trans women's athletes' Olympic participation in Japan, even though there are opinions about it. I hope you will understand our situation. Last November, a video of Serena Sol, an American high school girl who appeared for fairness in women's sports, became a hot topic on Twitter in Japan. Not only people who had been interested in gender issues, but also a wide range of people learned about this issue. Therefore, I would like to extend my gratitude and respect to Selena for her courage.
Thank you very much. You've been talking about the political situation and how the party in government is supporting the Olympics and the party in opposition is not supporting, but at the same time it's the party in the opposition that is supporting the inclusion of males in women's sports because they are pro trans rights, so-called trans rights. So, but aside from the political party, are there sports association or other female athletes, scholars, any prominent figures that could be publicly favoring that?
Well, there are people in academia who'd like to promote such idea that including trans women in women's sports. And there are many liberal feminists who support those academics. What is noteworthy is that there are already concrete guidelines for the treatment of transgender athletes in schools. Here's the pamphlet made by the Japan Sports Association. The Japan Sports Association is a very large and authoritative public interest incorporated foundation that coordinates and supervises sports in Japan. It organized the annual National Sports Festival and certified sports leaders. This is a pamphlet published by such great foundation. You can download it in PDF format from the website. In this pamphlet, they take it for granted that people can join in the sports based on the gender identity. In Japan, there are various requirements for legislative gender reassignment, such as surgery, but the pamphlet goes further than what the law stipulates. The pamphlet says, and this is the extract from the English version of the pamphlet. The pamphlet says, in basketball, tall athletes are not excluded from competition on the ground that their height is unfair advantage. Similarly, with respect to the sex characteristics, it is necessary to create a system that recognize that both women and men are born with a variety of body traits, and with regard to gender identity, it is necessary to create a system that allows them to compete according to their identity. It also says in other pages, with all respect to transgender persons and individuals with DSDs, it is important to respect the gender identity of the concerned individuals. If you are consulted, listen to the person's wishes and give the highest priority to that person's intention rather than their outward appearance or biological gender. In this way, they are mixing up the description of people with DSDs like Kester Semeyer with that of transgender. If on the field and in practice, sports readers and people involved in sports start to think and act on gender identity based on such pamphlets, the field of education will change without waiting for a new LGBT equality law to be created. I am worried that policy of making things easier for transgender youth will go too far and have a big negative impact on biological women.
Apart from the Olympics, what is the main concern of Japanese rad femmes? And of course, how can sisters in other countries support you?
Our biggest concern is about the new LGBT law in Japan, which is about to be created. It was stopped for a while, yet the situation has not yet settled. The problem is so huge that we completely focused on it, so we actually cannot do any project concerning Olympics. There is a high possibility that the new law will lead to the introduction of self-ID system in Japan. The bill uses the term gender identity, which has never been the legal term in Japan before. The push for the new LGBT law comes from big businesses, the media, and political parties, especially the opposition parties. 14 political giants are also saying things with a nuance that Japan should promote transgenderism. This includes the British ambassador to Japan and the US president. This is the tweet by the British ambassador to Japan. It was made on June 4th, when Japan is in the middle of political controversy that LGBT law need to be made soon or need to take time to consider the content well. Her words, political leadership is also essential, meant to push the early enactment of the new LGBT law, even though in UK, system that based on gender identity ideology began to collapse. Therefore, dear sisters, when you find out that your representatives are pressuring other countries to promote transgenderism, please criticize them. We need your help. Transgenderism is a colonialism of women by men. And if it will be imposed by other countries, it will be colonialism in a double sense. We are all gazing with fear how things will turn out by the current change in indication of US passport concerning gender. As I said, in the front line of anti-transgenderism in Japan is Twitter. Please follow the radical feminists in Japan, ask questions and offer encouragement. People in Japan will follow you too. Let's make contact with each other. Well, in that demo, they expressed their outrage over sexual violence, women exposed based on their biological reality, outrage over inequality between men and women, and outrage over the transgenderism. And also, My Twitter account is this. It's so, and I would be happy if you follow me or send me DM. Well, finally, I would like to tell you that we Japanese radical feminists receive wisdom and courage from the action of our sisters abroad. Thank you for your continued support.